Alright, so this is What If Issei was the shield hero. I am Wacky Anime What If. Let's go ahead and do this. So, Issei woke up like any ordinary day, was getting up, getting dressed, about to go to Kohai, walked outside of his room, walked down the stairs, greeted his mom and dad, and said, I'm gonna go to Kohai real quick. See you later when I get back. They said, oh, okay, Issei. And Asya came down and was walking with Issei. And so was Rias and all of them. They moved in with Issei. So they were all just walking together. And, well, they continued walking to Kohai all together. And Issei felt kind of weird, like something bad was going to happen. And Drake even came out and said, partner, I feel this odd magical presence near us. Getting closer. I think it's aiming towards us. Which Issei said, guys, we should be on guard. And Rias and all of them were on guard while walking to Kohai now. And, well, nothing really happened. So they're about to step into the school. They walk through the front gates, and Magic Circle is under Issei. And they're like, Issei! Get out of the way, the Magic Circle! Before it does whatever it's about to do. And then he just teleports out. And they're all wondering what the fuck just happened and where's Issei? They don't exactly know what happened. Issei doesn't know what happened. Issei just wakes up into a room, a dark room, gets up, and let's ask Drake what happened. And Drake pops out, but he looks a little different. Drake is still a gauntlet, but he has more of a shield look. It's odd. There's an actual jewel inside of Drake, the usual green jewel. It has a shield inside of it, which is odd to him. So Issei just gets up and asks what happened to Drake, because there's a little shield inside of your jewel. He says, I don't know, I just gained the ability to turn into a shield now. And Issei's like, oh, that's pretty cool, but where the hell are we? So he literally just looks around and sees two people just staring at him, and he's like, did that gauntlet just talk to you? Itsuki, I'm gonna call him Itsuki because I don't know his fucking name. I don't know. I'm so sorry. But Itsuki just says, so is your weapon like a gauntlet? Huh, that's pretty cool actually. That means you're a close range fighter. I mean, it's not as cool as my bow or, the spear or sword, but I guess that's pretty cool. And Issei's wondering what the hell they're talking about, and says, do you guys know where I am? Where we all are? And he's like, oh, of course, we probably were summoned to another world. And then right when he says that, Issei says, oh, like that one trope from animes. And they're like, yeah, pretty much. So, all of a sudden, the people who summoned them just walk into the room, and Issei's on guard. He just has Drake up, and he goes into the actual balance breaker, and this armor envelops him, and literally, Moriyasu, Ren, and fucking Itsuki just start looking at him like, that looks so fucking cool. Can our weapons do that? They just stare towards the weapons, and they're like, wait. Transform. They just start, beating their weapons. They start punching their weapons. They're like, why won't you transform like that when... And Issei just walks up towards the actual mages that summoned them, and is walking very intimidatingly. And they're like, wait, what are you doing? And he's like, why did you kidnap us from our worlds? And he's like, we only did it so that you could help us. We have to deal with something called the waves. And Issei said, I listen. and he just disengages his actual balance breaker. And Drake says, I guess we'll both listen to your excuses, but you're gonna need to send us back later. We'll help you, but we also need to get in touch with his friends and his family. My partner does. And they're like, but there's no way to get back unless you defeat all the waves. This enrages Issei. Issei says, so I'm assuming that you guys have a king or something that, made this happen? I want you to take me to him, so I can bust his teeth out for kidnapping me into another world. And Rin, Itsuki, and Moriyasu are just saying, oh, we'll help you, but you have to make it worth our while. And Issei's like, oh, no. I'll help you. It's just, I want to get in contact with my friends. And if you're saying that we can't get sent back to our world, then you're potentially saying that you kidnapped us and are trying to force us to fight these waves and then dispose of us, is what Issei says, because Issei has literally read about multiple mangas. He read about one that was called The Shield Hero, which this situation exactly reminds him of. And yeah, Issei's understandably pissed. The mages are really sweating bullets because they don't know what the fuck that gauntlet is. They don't recognize that as the shield. So, yeah. They literally all follow the mages, and Issei has this intimidating aura about him when it comes to them. And Itsuki and Moriyasu and Ren ask what the problem is exactly. And Issei says, well, I had a harem back in my world, and I was quite well known in the underworld. Well, and they were like, wait, you're well known in the underworld? He's like, yeah, I was known as the Red Dragon Emperor. And they're like, that does not ring a bell, but that sounds pretty intimidating, actually. And also, what are you talking about? Didn't you just get your weapon? Like all of us? And he's like, no. This is Drake. He has something called a sacred gear. I assume that you guys had sacred gears in your hands? And they're like, no, these are legendary weapons, is what Ren says. And he says, we're in a game called Star Phantom Online. And then Moriyasu says, no, we're in a VR game called The Four Heroes. And Itsuki says, no. We're in a light novel I read. It's called The Sacred Weapons. And Issei just says, no. I think we're in the light novel that I read before called The Shield Hero. I'm pretty sure. And they're like, yeah, but I don't think that's true because there's no shield hero. And he's like, I didn't think about that. And Drake says, well, you do have the actual legendary shield inside of me. I can literally pop it out if you want. And he just says, I prefer not to. So, he literally says that in his mind. And he was talking to Drake in their mind. So they didn't hear any of that. They don't know that Issei has a shield. So, it's because Issei already read The Shield Hero. The Shield Hero gets treated like shit, and he's like, nope, I don't want that happening to me. So, they are still walking to the king. They walk into the king's chamber, and everyone's staring at the heroes, and they're all kind of wondering, what's up with the one with the gauntlet? We never heard of a gauntlet hero. And so they basically ask all of them their names, and Moriyasu says, I'm Moriyasu. I'm 20. I play video games as a hobby, and I like hot girls. Which Moriyasu just stares at mine. And Issei just face palms himself on the inside. And he's like, wait, was I like that? Was I like him? I really hope I'm not like him. Because Issei in this one has matured. After he got his harem, he started maturing more. So, Issei just, like, looks at them. They all introduce themselves. Ren says, oh, I'm a type of person that likes to stay calm, cool, and collected. I don't think that freaking out or panicking is a very good thing to do. And I was in a university before I was transported here. I'm currently 21, which I'm changing their ages. And Issei is like the last one to go. The king does not interrupt him because he doesn't know he's the shield hero. He thinks he's like the gauntlet hero or something. And yeah, the king says, wait, what type of hero are you exactly? Like, what hero are you? I get that that's the spear hero, Moriyasu. That's that Itsuki is the bow hero. Ren is the, sword hero, but I've never heard of a gauntlet hero. And then he says, oh, well, your majesty, I am actually, in my world, known as the Red Dragon Emperor. Which they're all shocked, because that sounds like a really menacing title for someone to have. And then he says, well, the thing is, mine multiplies my strength consistently whenever it screams boost. That's essentially what mine does. He doesn't divulge any more about his actual powers because he knows what happened to main character and shield hero, and he doesn't want that smoke. And the king says, so what's your name? And he's like, my name's Issei Hyodo. I am currently 18, and I prefer to go home, actually. But apparently, if we can't go home until we defeat all the waves, I want to go ahead and get the waves over with as soon as possible. Which the king can respect that, but also is pretty, pissed because of his tone of speaking to him. And literally says this out in the open, says, you dare speak to me like that, you child? And Issei says, you dare speak to me like that while I'm the one that's supposed to save your asses? Yes, there's 4 of us, but what happened if I just left and went to, a different town or a different city? And, yeah, the king was sweating a little bit and said, you wouldn't dare. And Issei's like, try me. Also, I can tell you that you're going to lose a pretty important asset if you continue acting like this to me, because it's understandable. I'd be furious if you took me away from a harem that I had in my world, which the king's jealous of, because he can't even get a harem when he has the entire kingdom. All he has is one wife. And he's pretty jealous about this, and honestly, no one wants to sleep with the old man. His wife doesn't even. And he's pretty jealous and has a tick mark on him because of that. And then Issei continues saying, also, I'm well respected, and I am more than a king in my world. I'm beyond that of a king. Kings will literally bow to me or respect me, because I am the Red Dragon Emperor. And the king sweats a little bit because, well, if he's telling the truth, that means that he's so opposing that the kings literally would kneel to him. But then he's also thinking it's a bluff, so he's like, I don't believe you, that's preposterous, gauntlet hero. And then he says, actually, I prefer to call me Red Dragon Emperor. And he says, what the hell is Red Dragon Emperor anyway? You're not a dragon. And then Drake pops out and says, like the Drake is still out, but he says, actually, Issei is a dragon. Well, not a dragon, but Issei has a dragon in his body. That's the reason why he's the Red Dragon Emperor. Because I am the Red Dragon Drake. And then everyone's shocked because this gauntlet just said he was a dragon. And Issei says, yeah, long story short, there's a dragon in this gauntlet. And the king is shocked, but says, in his mind says, I can just get adventurers to take care of him if he becomes a problem. I mean, adventurers take care of dragons all the time. This isn't really that special. So, literally, Issei and Ren, Itsuki, and Moriyasu just go where they're being directed to, and they're getting directed to their rooms. They all are about to sleep, and all of them bombard Issei with questions like, what does your gauntlet do exactly? How did you get that armor? And what powers do you have? And then Issei says, first off, I don't want to reveal my powers if none of you reveal yours. Second off, I could use that armor because it's a skill. I'll just say it's a skill or a passive I have, okay? And third, I didn't hear what your last question was, and I don't care. And he literally just goes to his bed, just lays down and goes to sleep immediately. And they're pissed off because he just didn't answer any of their questions. Like, so blatantly. He didn't even ask them, like, any questions or anything. So they can, like, get intel from him. About him. So, the next day, Issei walks down the hall, is going to the king's audience with everyone else. They go in, and the king says, alright, so all of you have to pick your parties now. Well, actually, the parties pick you. He says this, and Issei immediately says, can I just go alone? I prefer solo leveling. And the king has no objection with this, because, well, he's a hero, and he can do whatever he wants. So, Issei gets about, Issei gets about 2,000 silver, just like everyone else, in the actual hero's party. Because, well, the king doesn't know he has the shield, and he's actually the shield hero. So, like, they just walk off, about to walk off, and then mine says, I'd like to go with the gauntlet hero. And Issei looks at her and says, I don't want you. And mine, like, was in her head, was like, shit, does he know I was trying to set him up? And on the outside, she's smiling and says, why not, sir hero? And Issei says, well, you look treacherous, kind of. And everyone was gasping. And he said, also, you look like what commonly in my world would be known as a slut. Or a bitch. And he says this without any regard. Like, doesn't give a fuck. And the king is, like, very angry. Like, his face looks like a teapot right now. And steam's coming out of him. And he says, how dare you say this? Guards, seize him! And then Issei says, you try to do that and I'll knock you down on your ass really flat, really quick. They don't believe him. He says, alright, Drake, boost once. And then Drake says, boost! And it just literally roars boost in the entire area. And all Issei does is move his hand, and slaps one of the guards, their teeth get knocked the fuck out. Like, 5 of their teeth are gone. That one guard. He was the one that was the closest, and the other ones just back away. They're like, we don't want any of what that guy just had. And Issei said, I hope you have a good insurance. And the king says, how dare you disrespect mine? Also, what's this magical thing you call insurance? Was that the attack you did? And Issei says, oh, you guys don't even have insurance. This is quite upsetting. I know this is the Middle Ages, but I thought they had insurance or something like that. And Issei just walks out, just mumbling to himself. And the king is literally just so fucking pissed. Like, he hates the Gauntlet hero now a little bit more. Like, not a little bit more than the Shield hero, but almost about where he would be at the Shield hero. A good bit. He hates the Gauntlet hero. And, yeah. Issei just chuckling, and Drake is on the inside just laughing. And so you saw his face? He looked like a fucking teapot that was about to fucking explode. Like, my dude, he looked like a red tomato. He looked like a chili pepper, is what Issei says. And like they're just going back and forth while they're walking. He's like talking to his gauntlet. Everyone can see him and hear Drake talking, because they're not talking in his mind. They're talking out loud. So everyone knows that Drake is actually talking. So he doesn't look like a nutshell or anything when he's doing it. So he just walks over and decides to go get some, well, he decides to go get some armor, because he doesn't want to use a scale mill all the time. That would just give away the fact that he has that. I mean, he did it in the beginning, but only the heroes really know. The rest of the heroes. Doesn't want anyone else knowing about it. So he goes in and, you know, sees a blacksmith. It's not the guy from the Shield Hero. He went into a different area. And he just picks up some armor. It was random, like, low-grade armor. Costed about, like, 50 silver. Not that many. He's converted, like, saving his actual silver. He goes out towards where the balloons and stuff are. And some balloons literally see him. Once he leaves the city, they see him, the balloons do, and they're trying to immediately go after this man. Like, there's like 10 balloons, and they're all rushing towards Issei. And Drake is like, partner, I think we should punch them. And Issei's like, I would wait till more gather. I've read the novels, and yeah, these balloon things aren't really that, they're not that strong, really, so I'm pretty much fine. So he says this, and then all of a sudden, literally, one of the balloons bite him, and then he's bleeding a little bit, and he's like, ah, fuck, what is that? Didn't it not damage the Shield Hero? He just fucking slaps that shit with Drake, and it just pops. And then Drake says, well, didn't the Shield Hero have a shield out? You have me out. And he's like, oh, so I have to swap if I want the defense. Because he literally just looks at his stats while all of them are about to attack him. And he's like, oh, I have to swap out for the defense. Nah, I'm good for now. So he just boosts and just starts immediately crushing all of them. He gets up to level 3 because, well, let's say that Drake adds an actual XP effect. He boosts the XP effect each time he does a boost. So he can infinitely boost his XP, but he doesn't really know this, and it drains a lot of energy from Issei. So Issei doesn't boost as often. He just murks a lot of the actual balloons, and he does this almost the entire day until he's level 10. And he goes to an inn. He, like, finishes. Itsuki and Ren and Moriyasu are watching him, and they're like, he's fucking powerful. And then, all of a sudden, all these balloons start ganging up on him, and he's like, might as well try this, Dragon Shot. And then, look, the fucking beam comes out, fucking obliterates all of them, all 12 of them, and he levels up to level 10, because he was level 9 previously. And they're literally shocked and have, like, the speechless expression on their face. Issei just walks by, sees them, walks by them, and walks into the town. Just walks into the city. And, yeah, he just goes to an inn. He just, buys a room, goes upstairs, goes into his room, and just passes the fuck out after putting his money into an inventory. Because he has an inventory inside of Drake. Like, he just put it into the jewel. I'm implementing that now. So he does not get robbed later. When Mine does go into his room and tries to frame him, he doesn't get mobbed. Like, he doesn't get robbed. And Drake is still up, just so you know. When Issei's asleep, Drake is still, like, up. So Drake is on his arm, and sees Mine sneak in and says, what are you doing there, Missy? And Mine's like, I was just checking up on you. And she literally walks back and says, fuck this shit, I'm out. And just closes the door. And just fucking backs away. And Drake is laughing. Because that just happened. And she didn't expect that. So, yeah. The next day, Mine tries to pull her bullshit on Issei. Saying that, she was raped. So the guards end up trying to go towards Issei and get him. to go. But Issei was like this. He says like, so what am I being framed for? Wait, I already know. She probably said that I tried to rape. And he literally just talks to the guards and says, if any of you implant any evidence on me, because there's nothing here, check real quick in front of me. Check. And Drake has a function that no one knew about. He can record things. So he's recording all the stuff that happens through the jewel. So he's recording all of them searching and stuff and finding absolutely nothing. They searched every nook and cranny for like 2 hours. And they end up bringing Issei out of the inn. The innkeeper's looking at him with disgust. And he's like, I didn't do it. But you're probably not going to believe me, so go fuck yourself if you don't. I don't really care. And Drake literally is like, yeah, these people are bitches. Yeah, they literally believe anything that one person says without even looking at the evidence. And they just were not looking for any evidence, and Issei just walks out. Everyone's looking at him with disgust and saying that he raped mine. And he's like, actually, I wouldn't touch her with a 10-foot pole. I don't want STDs. They're like, what are STDs? And Issei's like, what the fuck? They don't even know what that is. While he's walking, he's thinking that. And they just walk all the way into the palace. You know, the castle. They walk him all the way into the king's throne room. Issei walks in and says, so are you here to accuse me of something that I didn't do? And the king says, you raped mine. And mine says, he did. That's him, Moriyasu. He goes behind Moriyasu. Moriyasu says, why would you do such a thing? Just because you were the Red Dragon Emperor, you think you can do whatever you want? Just because you were known in your world? And then Issei said, first off, I can do what I want. Is what Issei said. And he said, but I wouldn't touch her with a 50-foot pole. I don't want STDs. Or whatever she has. Or bitch disorder. And says that. And just so you know, Rin chuckles a little bit on the inside. And so does Itsuki. And Moriyasu's just really enraged. And the king is like, how dare you call my daughter a bitch? And then he's like, oh, no, I'm sorry. I meant slut. Is what Issei says. And literally, Moriyasu is fucking steaming. And then he says, alright, tomato boy over there. Just points at Moriyasu. Moriyasu says, what did you just call me? And then Issei says, just ignore the masculinity and stuff. How about this? I show you evidence that it was not me. And they're like, peaked, and all of a sudden, the king says, there's evidence against you, guards. Show what you found in his room. And they pull out the panties, and the king says, seize him. And Issei looks at them and says, do you want what happened last time? And they just back away. They don't care what the king says. They want to keep their teeth. And Issei just says, alright, how about this? I'll show you the proof now. And the king's trying to hurry him out of the actual area and just, like, you know, say that he was a rapist. And then Issei's like, alright, how about this? I'll show you the evidence. And he literally taps on his jewel, on his sacred gear. And then a recording shows of the guards searching the area. Everywhere, every nook and cranny, and nothing being found. And then the king says, you must have tampered with it. We don't know if that's real or not. And then he says, alright, let me show you this then. He taps it again, and it shows a live footage of the guards implanting evidence on Issei. Because Issei left this little marble that came out of his sacred gear. He left it in his room, in the corner, to record everything. It also recorded when mine tried to sneak in his room. And, yeah. So the king was like, You totally did it to her, though. And then Issei's like, first off, I would not bang a slut. Or whatever she is. Actually, she's the bitchiest thing I've seen. Honestly, I'd literally rather do it with Morgan Freeman than her. I'd literally do it with Morgan Freeman. Or someone else. That would look very monstrous. You know what? I'd rather do it with Medusa. and they don't really get what he's saying except for Medusa, because Medusa does exist in their world. So they get that reference, and they're like chuckling a little bit, like the audience is. And yeah, Issei says, "Alright, so if this show's done, I'll see you later, bitch. And I'll see you later, Trash King. Actually, no. I'll see you later, Sewage King." And he just walks out, and the king is pissed, Mine is pissed, Moriasu's pissed, and everyone else is just laughing at them. Until the king says, "Whoever laughs now, I will execute them," and they all shut up. Then Issei just walks out, goes to his inn, and relaxes. And that's the end of this episode of What If Issei Was a Shield Hero. That's the end of it, and if this gets enough likes, I'll make another one.